All right. Hey, John, another week, another crazy week in real estate. So
Craig, how
how
you
was your
doing?
week? Good.
Yeah, good, good. The weekends go too fast, don't they? Holy cow.
They did. Did I tell you about my rental property where I rented it to two people and they moved 8 people in?
Oh, nice. Oh, you
Yes.
got one of those stories.
Yes. So I
And,
go
and,
in
and
there.
it was all they were all it was all legitimate on the application, I'm sure, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
They didn't disclose any of that.
Yeah. Oh,
So anyhow, I had 8 people on a septic system in Plymouth.
oh man.
And you know what happens to septic if you're overloaded. So out of septic system, and then I go in there and the sewage had backed up into the basement.
Oh
So
no.
now I've got this last week, I cut down 4 feet all the way around the basement walls and ripped all that out and, doing the clean out. And then upstairs, it's like a lot of moisture. They like threw buckets of water on the floor and I had the LVT flooring to,
Oh,
to clean all the grease from their cooking up and stuff. And there's water trapped under the LVT. So I had to rip all that flooring up that I just put in 12 months ago.
oh my
And then the
gosh.
sink that was all wet underneath there. So I ripped out all the kitchen cabinets to get air to the back wall. It's just like, this is a complete gut job.
Unbelievable.
But I got 1 month security deposit for it.
There you go. Big rich investor, big rich real estate investor right there. And I
Yep.
take it this is not an insurance claim.
People ask me about that, but with all the crap going around with insurance, just raising rates, I don't want to be on their radar right now.
Yeah.
And I can just go in and get the work done. And it's just
Right.
sometimes it's easier just to get it done.
Right. It's a pain for you, but
Yep.
whatever. I mean, by the time you got to pay your deductible anyway, and then your insurance goes up then starting the next year,
Yeah.
is it worth it?
I don't
Probably
know.
not. You can do the work, not like you really, wanted to go do another gut job, but
Right. But what the
that's
heck?
that's terrible.
Oh yeah, and I also had a tree come down on another property from the windstorm, and it took out the power line. And then the tree knocked down an 8-foot section of the neighbor's privacy fence. And then when it hit the power line, it took the utility pole down with it.
Oh no.
So then the utility pole knocked down another 8-foot section of their fence. It was a dead tree. I didn't know about it. It's in the back corner of a big lot. And then the whole neighborhood was without power for like 3 days.
Oh my gosh.
It's like,
Oh.
shit. I call my insurance agent. What should I do? Like, nothing. He goes, your insurance doesn't cover their fence.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, their insurance covers their fence.
Right, but they might come after you for whatever.
Yeah, I gave them the insurance information, and
Right.
their insurance company wants to pursue it. Okay, that's up to them. But
So I'm curious on that. So you had your tree came down.
yep,
It took out part of their fence, and at the same time, part of the power line or the power lines.
it took the whole power pole down with it.
But then the power pole you said then fell
It
and
landed
knocked
in
out
there.
another section of their fence.
Yep.
And I'm assuming, I guess, the way they think logically that the whole cause is from your tree and your property, not that you, the utility company. Do you have to pay to put the utility pole up? Will the insurance company pay that, or does the utility company pay that?
I think the utility company pays that.
Got it.
Until
Okay,
I
but
see a bill, I
you got two
assume so.
sections of fence that have to be repaired.
Yeah, which we're looking at probably $700 in repairs, and which is going to be less than their deductible.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, but fencing's expensive though. Oof.
Yeah, I suppose you can get a $30,000 quote for that in today's market.
And what about the tree? Now you got to get rid of the tree.
I just went out there with my chainsaw and cut it up, and I said, "Hey, would you want me to cut up the tree that's in your yard, that part of it?"
Got it.
And they're like, "No, we want our insurance company to see that it was dead." I'm like, "Okay, you're gonna deal with insurance. You can let them clean it up."
Right.
I would have taken care of it for you, but
Oh gosh. You just hauled out the logs then? Whatever was on your property, you got rid of it?
yep,
Yeah.
loaded up a dump trailer and ran it to the dump and done.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Passive income, easy money.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I have a story of a client of mine who bought a condo in I don't remember. It's west of Greenville here, and they're in I want to say probably maybe an 8-story building. It's relatively new. They're going to turn it into an Airbnb, and just getting ready to turn the switch on that thing. And they got notified from somebody a couple floors up had left some kind of leak happened in the building, and it's come down through some. I think it's like all 8 floors, all the units kind of straight down. They got to tear all this stuff out.
Oh my
It's
God.
going to be an enormous cost. I mean, I can't even imagine it. And their unit's perfect. I mean, literally, you can't even tell that there's water in the walls. Nothing's come
Oh,
through it. Somehow it just ran straight down. But, obviously now they know, and they're going to have to tear through that, make sure it's all mitigated properly, all that stuff. I'm sure that'll be, $100,000 in repairs. That'll be an insurance bill.
gosh.
Yeah.
Insurance is going to go up. I mean, they have to. It's just.
Yeah. It's just, did I tell you this story the other day? Speaking of insurance. So we had, well, and you deal with this because you own a lot of property. So in terms of like buying appliances, we have not had a lot of good luck with personal appliances as of late. The old ones are great. In fact, when we moved from our home in Medina, we had a GE refrigerator that we had hauled from California that we had for years in California, moved it in our basement in Medina. We lived in Medina for 16 years. That refrigerator still worked. It was perfect. We left it there because it was too big to get it out of the basement. The next owner wanted it. But so anyway, now of course we moved down here. We got a new refrigerator, Samsung. It was LG. I think we spent like $2,500. Dead in 3 years.
Yep.
Right. We pay somebody $180 to come out, tell us, hey, can you fix this thing?
Nope.
Like, well, it's like the motherboard or something like that. The fix is like, I don't remember, $1,400, and it would take weeks to get. I'm like, it's dead. It's dead. We'll go get a new refrigerator. So we got a new refrigerator. So that's fine. It's great. We had gotten washers and dryers, and I can't remember the brand. I think it was GE. And they were pretty good, but the washer died after 5 years. Got 5 years out of the washer. Okay. We washed a fair amount of clothes, teenage boys. It dies. We go to Lowe's, get a new washer. Guys, go up our driveway. We have a little bit of a slope of our driveway. Now, first of all, you got to be pretty skilled to back into our driveway with a truck. Plus, there was a car parked on the driveway. In a million years, it didn't dawn on me that these guys might try to back their truck into my driveway instead of driving around to the front of the house and just walking it in from the front of the house, which they can and most people do. But these guys didn't. They backed it they backed it up the driveway. I was not there. They took off. They dropped the washer. They put it in, installed the washer. And we're always good about, hey, we're always tipping people like that, right? So we had tip money. Not a lot, right? Whatever. I think we give them $10 to thank them for their time, putting this thing in. They're off and running. And we come home a little bit later. We're like, hey, what happened to Patrick's car? Like the whole corner panel's just smashed. And it wasn't smashed an hour earlier. And we had left and seen that thing. And
I just jumped up here.
Hey, make sure that cat stays with you in Minnesota. Don't take that cat to Ohio.
You're allergic to cats.
Don't take that cat to Ohio.
Yes. Ohio cats.
Yeah, exactly. That's not dinner. That's not dinner, right?
That's not dinner. No.
Okay, that's not dinner. All right, excellent. So anyway, these guys smashed up the back of my son's car and just left, and they didn't tell us. So we had to go through this whole rigmarole, get this all figured out. Anyway, finally got a quote. I mean, here's the crazy thing is we want the car to work, and it's a decent car. It's a good running car, 165,000 miles, Honda Accord. It should run another 165,000 miles. It's like $3,200 to fix the corner panel, but it's got a super high-end finish for a Honda Accord with it's the pearl, and it's got like a little bit of material in it, so it's going to be tough to finish it. And the guys that are doing it, they get the paint jobs from the dealerships because dealerships have struggle to paint that particular pearl finished Honda Accord. So these guys have to take care of it. So I'm dealing with these guys. Of course, it is a shipping company or a transportation company. It's not Lowe's. They contract all that stuff out, and they don't have insurance for this stuff. They just got to pay cash to get it out. So anyway, it's going to be like $3,200. I'm trying to, we've got a bunch of other cars anyway, so we're trying to not have to rent a car, and I'd make them pay to rent the car and stuff, pay for the rental car and things like that. But it's $3,200. How many? Lowe's delivered a $500 washer, $600 washer to our house. I can't believe that the transportation company couldn't have been getting paid more than $100 to deliver that. There's not enough margin in those things. I can't imagine. Maybe it's $50, $75. I'm not sure. They're doing them all day long.
Yep.
Now they got to pay $3,200 out of pocket. They got to deliver a lot of washing machines to pay that.
Yep.
Had a state trooper come out, file all this stuff. Anyway, it was technically a hit and run. And they claimed they didn't know about it, right? They got a big truck. You smacked into my car and you didn't know about it. You just left, So Language was a problem, shall we say.
Sure.
There was a language barrier.
The appliances are a problem. Even the home warranty company is saying, yeah, we're not getting more than 3 years out of these new appliances.
Yeah.
I put in a gas range at one of my rentals, and I did the rental license inspection, and one of the burners, the knob doesn't turn one way or the other.
Yeah.
And the inspector says, well, you'll have to get that fixed. And I said, no. I said, I'm not going to fix it. You can't get the parts. It's a Korean brand. It's garbage.
Right.
I'll replace it.
Right.
I just know better. I've tried. You just can't get these parts.
Right. Yeah. No, it's amazing. It's like on HVAC stuff. I'm not sure how you handle all that stuff. That's gotten incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
To replace that stuff. So like down
my
here,
son is getting licensed in HVAC.
Oh, that's awesome. Super smart. Either that or auto repair, airline repair, all that stuff. Those guys will do fantastic. So in the South, we have a smaller house. We have probably 2,700 square feet. Minnesota, I think we had about 3,800 square feet. Minnesota, we had one furnace and one AC unit. Down here, you've got 2 furnaces and 2 AC units. Part of it, I think, is because of the humidity and how hot and humid it is. Get all that out of the house. The quotes we got were for, and so when they do these, you can do just the compressor, or you could just do the furnace, but they recommend you do them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
If you do them at the same time, the quotes we were getting, they're anywhere probably from $8,000 on a low cheap system. That's AC and furnace installed to probably $12,000, right? So let's just call it in the middle. Let's call it $10,000 for a good quality AC unit and furnace. And I asked these guys, how long should these things last? And so, well, AC is maybe about 15 years. 15 years, that's it. So 15 years. So if you're
$1,000 a year.
So if you're changing these out, right? Let's talk about this. So if it's $20,000 divided by 15, right? That's $1,300 a year. Okay. Now I'm thinking you're going to get more than that. Now I'm on about 15 years with my AC unit. So here's the math, right? This is like what you think probably, I'm sure, in investing. Do I just pay to fix it, or do I put in a new one? And what I've learned to deal with a lot of commercial property owners, I mean, these guys will fix until they absolutely have to replace the thing.
Yeah.
But so we had about $1,000 repair 2 years ago, and the AC went out. And I was just trying to do the math. I'm like, all right, here's the deal, guys. I don't want to pay $20,000 to get new systems. I don't want to pay $10,000 to get one new system. Just fix it. Let's see how long it goes. Well, and I did the math. I said, hey, it's basically costing me $1,000 a year amortized to have HVAC in my house. So any year that I don't have to spend $1,000 is a win for me. So this year we had the guys out, took a look at it. Nothing. Everything's good. There was no leak in the system. So we got through a whole year. It's like bonus.
Yeah.
Didn't have to do a big capital expense, big capital cost, and house stayed cool. So far, so good.
Yeah, I had a good friend who's HVAC licensed. He handled everything. He's retired now. He sold his business, but he would say, don't replace it unless you absolutely have to.
Yeah.
The recoup cost on those is just takes forever.
Yeah. So and then they try to sell you on, hey, well, there's a leak. Clearly there's a leak. Yes, clearly there's a leak. Okay. The Freon's gone out of the system, but the cost to find the freaking leak, it was like $700. We'll put some dye in this thing and we'll run this through and we'll come through with an x-ray machine and we'll figure out where this leak is. I'm like, $700 to find the leak? I was like, I'll take my risk. Just pump that thing full as much Freon as you can. The challenge has become the Freon's gotten so expensive. That could be, it's outrageous how expensive some of these guys are charging on that. And the thing is, I think we could probably figure out how to put it in our system, because you can buy this stuff, I think, on Amazon. You can buy the readers and all that stuff to test it, and see how much Freon you got in, what you got to put in it. But I just don't want to mess with it. So
they regulate that with like the EPA and licensing, so that you run a slippery slope. A homeowner might be able to get away with it, but
right, exactly. So anyway, it's just all so unbelievably costly. So yeah, fix and repair as best you can.
Okay, so in the world of real estate, what's shaking out there? We had a buyer's agent issue come up.
Yeah, we saw something like that on Twitter, right? Because again, you and I aren't super active at this, so we're kind of coming at it as observers, taking a look at that. I don't know if you happen to have Twitter pulled up. Let's see if we can find that. Find that. But I have to go here. Is it Alex?
This one here. Are we looking at the same one?
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened here?
Yeah, so the buyer brought an offer. Buyer agent brought an offer. Seller offered to pay the buyer agent 2% commission. Buyer agent had a signed buyer rep agreement with their buyer for 3% and was adamant about holding to 3% and was not going to budge. The buyer couldn't afford to pay the price of the home and the 3% commission, right? Or the 1% additional commission that the seller wasn't going to pay. And so the deal fell apart. And the agent was unwilling, apparently, to budge on her commission.
Why was the agent? Isn't it the seller was unwilling to pay?
Well, the seller was unwilling to pay, yes, right?
Yep.
But ultimately that contract was with the buyer's agent and the buyer. And, I think one of the guys was asking the question, why would you sign this? Why would you sign an agreement if you were a buyer with a buyer's rep saying you're going to pay 3% if you can't afford to pay the 3%? Well, part of the issue is here, you don't really know if these buyers are coming to these houses. You know that, Craig, when they're buying first-time houses, so they're so tight, they don't know. And maybe they got to go. Here's the thing that I realize is that most people, they'll call into Greenville like, hey, we hear it's cheap in the South. We want to buy a house. And we were this way. We're like, we want to buy a house for certain specs and we want to spend $375,000 or $400,000 for the house. We're like, hey, that's fantastic. Even though it's softened a little bit, but you're probably looking at like $450,000 or $475,000 maybe for that kind of house that you think you want to buy. So anyway, you're pushing, whether you're 200, 300, 400, you got to push the envelope a little bit on price to get what you want. So this buyer may have ended up pushing a little higher on their price than maybe what they were thinking. And all of a sudden they're like, hey, we can get the house for this and I can get the house, but I can't afford to pay my agent now 3%. I can only cough up 2% to make the deal work. I don't know. I mean, I figured we'd see some of this, by the way.
Well, it makes sense, right? The sellers think, oh, now I don't have to pay the buyer's commission. Well, the buyer doesn't have the money. You're going to make a concession or a commission.
Right.
It's not, this isn't magically free.
Right.
So it's all comes out in the net for the seller, and people are shocked at this. Yeah.
And the thing, and who knows what's going on here, right? It's easy to blame this buyer's agent on this, but it's 1%. Seriously? I mean, like, this is September. We're on the back end of real estate right now. If you haven't sold your house now, it may be a tough 4, 5, 6 months. 1%, really, you can't get that figured out and negotiate that. Maybe split it. Say 2.5. All right, seller, I'll give you 2.5. You guys take 2.5 and get this done. I would think the buyer's agent would say, yeah, let's just get it done. We'll do 2.5. Fine.
Yep. There's more going on here than just this, what
there's got to be more going on here, right? Because if this is a $400,000 house, we're talking about $4,000.
Yep.
And yeah, it's $4,000. I get that. Seller doesn't want to lose the $4,000, but now you maybe just lost a contract on your house.
Probably another 2 months holding costs.
Could be 2 months holding costs. The chances, you and I both know this, unless you have a really hot house, the chances of getting as good an offer as usually your first offer is pretty tough. Right? It's generally not as good. So
we'll see more of that going on.
I figured we would see that. I was talking to another agent, and he was saying that I can't remember the circumstances, but they ended up having the seller countered. When they countered, they got an offer they couldn't put together, and they never put the offer together, too far apart. But the seller countered. I think what happened was the buyer, she was representing the listing side, the seller. Buyer brought an offer really low. Seller countered, right? And the buyer agent included their commission compensation. Seller countered at a lower price and a lower commission, right?
Okay.
So one of the things is it's in play. The buyer's agent commission, for better or worse, is now in play in every deal. You know,
Well, so the seller, they're thinking they're going to lose they're not going to have to pay the buyer's commission.
yeah,
What they've done is they've actually lost control of that commission. They gave that commission up to the buyer now. Said, I'm not going to pre-negotiate what I'm paying out.
yeah,
I'm going to leave it up to the buyer and their agent to tell me what I have to pay.
yeah.
So it actually puts the seller in a worse position. And I think it makes the buyer's agent in a stronger position because they can actually negotiate their commission now.
Oh, for
And
sure.
they do the heavy lifting. So
Right.
I think
Right.
we're going to see the buyer's agents get paid higher.
Well, and I think that if we move into a buyer's market,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're finally bringing a buyer for a house. Maybe you're saying, hey, my fee's 3.5. Sorry.
And the
You know?
car in the garage.
Well, yeah, car in the garage. Yeah. First year of college paid for my son.
And I see you got Harvest Gold appliances. Those shouldn't break down. I want those too.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And I forgot we can't talk commissions, right? So it's 3.5 apples.
Yes.
They got to give us 3.5 apples. That'll pay my bills.
Concessions is the politically correct
Concessions.
term.
Yeah, that's right. Concessions. That's right. Yeah.
So going into a buyer's market, is that going to happen? Do you want to talk about rates coming up Wednesday?
Yeah, I think we're it's pretty quiet right now from what I hear talking to people.
Okay.
I think that, I mean, think about it. Think about the world that we live in, the media, the social media, the frenzy, all this insanity. Who's the guys? Dr. Doom. The guy's got the Reventure app. It's got a great, he's got massive audience.
Nick,
it's always, the sky's falling. And certainly he's called Florida right. Florida looks like, from everything I've seen, looks like it's definitely softening. A lot of problems with the condo market, those kinds of things. And he was making a comment the other day, and I agree with him that, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. And he was hearing from agents saying a lot of buyers just don't want to buy a house because they're not sure what's going to happen with the election. I'm like, seriously? Okay. If you're on one side of the aisle, you and I are on the same side of the aisle. We're not going to get into politics on this stuff, right? But if the other side wins, seriously, and you need to buy a house, you're not going to buy a house?
Yeah.
Are you not going to buy a house?
You need a place to live.
Just literally, like, how stupid of thinking is that? Well, no, we're going to wait to see what happens in the election. Oh, okay. So Donald Trump wins. What does that mean for you? Oh, we're going to buy a house. Oh, okay. Kamala Harris wins. What's it mean for you? Oh, we're going to buy a house. Oh, really? Okay, so if you're a Kamala fan and Trump wins, you're not going to buy a house? You're just going to keep renting? Or are you going to leave the country? Maybe that's it. They're going to leave the country. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Great. You know what? We just do a transport, right? We're flying in all these people. Just hop on the plane as it goes back to Haiti and go fly the Caribbean down there somewhere.
But fear is a funny thing, right? I mean, we're just inundated with fear. You jump on any of the social media sites and it's fear, fear, fear. Any of the political ads are fear, fear, fear.
Yep.
And then
health ads, everything.
Yeah. So everybody's driven by fear and no one can think rationally. So you have the doomers on there talking that, the housing market's going to, crash. Housing crash since what, 2015 they've been screaming that?
Yep. Certainly the last couple of years they've been screaming it.
Yeah, maybe they'll be right this time.
And the interesting thing is, so I made a comment on Twitter because I think the guy was talking about the stock market, right? Everything's lining up, all this stuff. I mean, my feed is just, and maybe unfortunately it's because I engage with this stuff. So the algorithm is just like, we're just going to just smother this dude with doom and gloom. So I commented back as like, oh man, it's like another doomer, like the world's going to come to an end. The Fed is going to make a rate decision. We'll talk about that in a second, on Thursday, the 17th. And did you know that the world as you know it is over on the 17th? It's all downhill from there. All of it, right? All of it. Everyone's got all the videos. They got all the charts. They've got all the editorial, the analysis, all the stuff. This is like 1987. This is like 2007. This is everything else all lining up. It's all the same. And then another guy said, well, no, it's different this time. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, okay. So and literally everyone's saying, no, the Fed's going to cut rates and the market's going to lose like 40 or 50%. Stock market. Maybe they're right. I don't know. Right. But everyone seems to be on that side that's going to crash. Yep. Housing, same thing. Everyone's saying
clickbait.
It's all going to crash. And they've been saying it, a site I love, Zero Hedge, right? But they've been negative forever, right?
Yep.
I think they've been negative since probably the Dow 15,000. Now Dow's at like what, 40,000? Constantly, everything's going to come crashing down, right?
Yep.
So this is how these guys generate subscribers, clicks, advertising, keeps us at a state of anxiety, keeps us hesitant from making a decision, keeps us agitated,
Yeah. I mean, during the housing crash, that paralyzed me, right? Because it was like you didn't know what was happening next, but we were in free fall at the time.
Well, there's a great example. There, everyone was like, hey, we're just going to keep going, right?
Everything's fine.
We're just going to keep going. And now everyone's trying to call the next collapse before it collapses. And say, no, I was on YouTube in June of 2021, and I said it's going to be a 35 or 40% housing price collapse across the nation, right? So now you spend the next 3 years trying to justify what you said. Yep. And it hasn't happened yet. I mean, it's softened in Austin. It's softening in San Francisco. I lived through San Francisco, by the way. Here's an interesting story. 9/11, when 9/11 happened in 1980, is it
2001.
No, sorry, not 9/11. Yes, it is 9/11. I was also thinking about the earthquake that happened there. But 9/11, when 9/11 happened, housing prices, I lived in the suburbs of San Francisco. Housing prices fell immediately if you needed to sell, right? It's like 35%. Just bam, it wouldn't have showed up in the statistics, but we could see it in the houses, right? You'd see the houses, here's what they normally sold for. Oh, this guy had to get out. He just discounted it, right? Was 900, now he sold it for 600 or whatever. Just got out of it. But within a year, it was incredible how fast that came back again. It was something like 18 months later, after the air had cleared with 9/11, it was like more $1 million homes had sold significantly than the previous year before 9/11. I mean, it just came ripping right back. And prices.
Well, that happened during COVID too.
Yeah,
when COVID was announced and said, okay, everyone's got to stay at home, lock in, and 30% of the population is going to die unless you wear your mask and get vaxxed.
Right.
And then people are saying, oh, property values are going to crash.
Right.
There was fear everywhere.
Right.
I went in and I bought 2 properties right away.
Yeah.
Bang, bang. Yeah. And the prices they cut. Everybody was scared. They dropped the price.
Yep.
And I went in, took advantage. And then I'm like, what if it does crash? I'm in trouble.
Right.
What if I'm wrong?
Right.
But it shot right back up.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's going to shoot right back up. Now, I think like Florida's got a unique situation from what I understand. All these condos, it's going to be very interesting. My guess is a lot of them are going to go to the ground and a big developer is going to step in. They're going to rebuild them. Or, I'm hearing other ththings. This is what's going to be really interesting for these owners to try to watch for potential fraud, right? Where they get these the repairs, all the examinations done. It's very expensive to get that done. They come back and they say it's going to be $50 million for the work. And maybe it really only costs $20 million, right? So $50 million, they assess all the condo owners, and the condo owners like, I'm not paying you $200,000 to go fix this thing. I don't even know if you're going to fix it. I'm out. Right.
So back up a little bit. This is there's a report out there that whatever percentage of condos in Florida have structural problems from the old Span Creek concrete construction. Right.
Right.
So they're expecting these things. They're going to have to be re-engineered or torn down and rebuilt.
Yep.
Okay, what do you do with a piece of property with 120 owners in it?
Yeah. So
good grief.
So what happens, you as a developer, big pockets, right? Say it's $50 million to fix it. Owners aren't going to want to fix that. They're like, just get me out of this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. So there's going to be an offer that is going to be made. Developer's just going to buy the building. That's why.
So then any owners with a mortgage on it will say, buy. Take it for what I owe. I'm not going to pay the difference.
True, right? They'll just walk, right? But if you had cash, if you had it paid off, like a lot of these old guys probably do, right? Just, hey, give me whatever. I thought it was worth 500. Give me 200. I'll get out of here. So
that may be 50 grand.
Maybe 50 grand, right? So the developer's going to buy these things. Maybe the fix, instead of 50 million, maybe it's only 20 million. I don't know. I mean, a lot of these buildings are just going to come down. They're going to blow them up.
Yep.
And they're going to take them down. and they're going to rebuild, and it's going to be this massive transfer of wealth again to these big guys.
Yep.
So,
and what's unfortunate is this syndication was a way that the little guy could participate and play in the game with the big guys.
Right.
But I'm afraid that the rules are going to change, because I think there was a lot of players that really didn't know what they were doing in this last cycle.
Oh, a lot
and
of
that
people
are in trouble.
A lot of people are going to get hurt. I was just reading one where the guys syndicated. Well, there's a lot of syndication happened in the apartment space, multifamily. But guy put together a deal, pretty significant deal in years ago, right? 8 years ago in office. Right. Well, now the office occupancy is way down. The value of the building is down 50%. And they're coming in. So they were coming in to, I think they either have to sell or restructure the financing on it, right? Because all those loans, those bank loans are maybe 7 or 8 years. So he's looking at all the LPs are wiped out. All their equity's gone. It's all gone. So, and he's got 20 or 30 LPs in the deal. So he's going to have to go to them and say, what do you guys want to do? Do you guys want to each throw back in $100,000 to try to salvage this thing? Or do you just we just walk away and I'm sorry, everyone's lost their money.
Yeah.
That really tough call. I mean,
and all but 2 of them want to throw back in, but the 2 don't throw back in. What do you do? Let it all collapse?
Yeah,
or does he raise the ante on everyone else?
Yeah, that's a tough deal. And I don't know, man. I don't have money like that invested in any of that stuff. It's just like, that'd be tough to get a capital call on an office building. I think you kind of just say, you know what? We just walk. We lost. Sorry. It was bad timing.
Yeah.
How about we talk about Fed real quick? Then I'm probably gonna have to get rolling.
Okay.
Fed week, Wednesday, Thursday they meet. So what are your thoughts on that?
I think the market's priced in the cut already. I don't think we're going to see a lot of movement. And I'm going to go a little more bearish. I think the Fed might be a little scared on the economy. I think it might be a little scarier out there than we realize, and I think they're going to cut 50.
Yeah, interesting. See, and I think they're scared to cut 50. They should cut 50. They should have done their first cut last month and then doing second cut this month. But I think they're scared to scare off the market. So the market's going to react either way. I do think it'll be volatile. I do think it'll probably go down. Because if it's 25, then people are going to say, well, you didn't do enough. The economy's worse off than the Fed realizes. Fed's behind the 8 ball. They've screwed up again. Then if it's 50, they're going to say, oh my God, they must really think a hard recession's coming. So they're trying to stave off that hard recession and land the plane, softly. Yeah. So they can't win either way, but I think they're behind the 8 ball. And I think rates will go up a little bit after they do their initial cut. I think in general, rates are coming back down. I think we'll see, I don't know. I think it's not hard to think that next spring we see 5.25% mortgage rates again.
Yep. No, I think that's in the cards. And I think things are rougher out there than people are letting on. I think the job market's weaker than they're indicating.
The restaurant indicator is quite weak too, by the way.
Okay.
So that's a challenge.
The consumer's hurting.
Yeah, that's a challenge. But I think come next spring, if mortgage rates come back under, say, 5.25, I don't know if they have to have a 4 print. If they have a 4 print, there will be people who will start to sell their houses and get out of their mortgage with a 3 on it to get
low 5s. I think they'll start to sell
low 5s under 5.5, and I think particularly under 5.25. And I think we can get there. We're not that far away, to be honest. No.
No, I mean, just if the pricing goes in line, 100. Instead of the 250 that we're difference now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Between the funds rate.
Right. Yeah. If that comes in a little bit, there's no reason it should be. I don't know why it's that big of a spread.
The banks are nervous is why.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as they start reining that in, the Fed doesn't really have to cut for rates to come down.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But the Fed's going to cut, I don't know. The Fed's going to cut. I was listening to somebody talking about in all of these cycles, every time the Fed starts cutting, on average, they cut 17 times before they go back up again.
Yeah, but that's 17 nicks. That's
Right.
little
That's
cuts.
17
Yeah.
quarters, right?
They start moving
17.
50 basis points. That's a big cut.
Right. Right.
Yep.
And they're only going to do that if there's like some financial calamity.
Yep.
It's possible, right?
It could happen.
You know, we bomb Russia. Russia launches nukes. Yeah, that could be a reason for it.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of more doom, that was the news this weekend. That was the weekend. This weekend's news, right? Hey, if you don't get us what we want, we're going to bomb Russia now. We're going to drag you into World War III before the election. So
So
just
what is the NATO
remember,
doing airstrikes inside Russia now?
yeah, yeah, that's not going to work out so well.
No, this is just crazy.
That's not going to work out so well.
So all apart from World War III starting, real estate is probably going to go up. You have a couple factors, right? We're going to say rates are going to come down at some point in the next year. And we just don't know how far, or how quickly, and to what level.
It's turning.
And then I was watching this video from Get Rich Education, and he used John Burns demographics insights.
Yeah,
I'll share this with you
that was
too
good
here.
stuff.
Okay, so what he's talking about is demographic is, that's your destiny, is demographics.
Yep.
So between 1990 and 2010, these were the U.S. births. So what we've got this annual birth rate here. The average age of a first-time home buyer is 35. So add 35 to 1990 and you get 2025. So basically what he's suggesting is the next 10 years is this bubble of the millennials and Gen Y. This is kind of the break point somewhere in there. Where did you think it was? 97?
Yeah, Gen Z and
Gen Z, or Gen Z, not Gen Y.
Gen Z and what is the millennials ages? 16, 18 millennial years. So I've got all my kids were born in that little window there, by the way.
Okay. You're the one who's responsible.
And three of the 6 have purchased houses within the last couple of years. So it's kind of
so they're a little younger than the typical.
They're a little younger when they bought. Yeah. I've got one that hasn't bought yet. He's in Texas for a variety of reasons. He was in New York, moved to Texas, just never bought, was kind of watching, thinking the housing market was going to crash and never did. Now he was starting to think about buying this spring. And I was like, no, wait. I was like, you finally waited this long. I was like, actually in Texas, it is now turning. Prices are coming down. I was like, you now have everything going for you, because now in Texas, the prices are coming down and interest rates are starting to come down. Everything's moving toward you. My son, I said, you don't have to buy yet. Hang on, hang tight. And he is. He's doing fine. So they'll buy something within the next year. They'll be just fine. Okay. But yeah, my family's contributing to that. So I see that. So that's a massive pressure point for housing.
Yep. We haven't talked the illegal aliens coming in. That's another 32 million or something crazy, or whatever the number is.
Some number. I think I heard. I think Biden's bringing in 30,000 Haitians every month. Yeah. That they've allocated for that. I don't know where they drop them all besides Springfield, Ohio.
Right, but and whatever your opinion is on that, they're still going to take up housing. That's going to create more demand for housing, no matter how you slice it.
Because again, that's part of the money laundering that's going on, right? It's the government funds like Catholic Charities, Lutheran Social Services, all these other crazy NGOs. They have the money. They give it to these guys to go get their rental vouchers, everything else. It's one whole huge, big, gigantic money laundering scheme. But the fact of the matter is, government's doing it, and it's going to put pressure on housing wherever all these people show up.
We can't change it. It's just
no, you can't change it. In fact, I saw a statistic, something like New York City now, like 20% of the hotels or the hotel rooms are being used by immigrants, illegals, paid for by the government.
Yeah. And the point is if you can't change it, you can at least take advantage of it, right? You can buy real estate, and you're going to be, and there's demand, right? We just talked about the lower interest rates are going to create demand, and now you have the demographics of the millennials and Gen Z. Well, the next generation after
Gen
millennials.
Z, yeah.
And then so that demand's coming into the first-time home buyer, and then now you have all these immigrants coming in, more demand, a lot more demand. I mean, you have a perfect storm coming in where there's a shortage of housing.
Big time. Yeah, big time.
I don't think we're going to see prices collapse like the doomers are saying.
No, I don't think so. I think some people might pick up some deals because of a couple foreclosures and stuff that happen. Yeah, I think that'll happen. But,
there's a few pockets, like you said, Austin.
There's some pockets it's softening, right? And like the Bay Area's got special problems. But the Bay Area is still very important in terms of tech and innovation and all that stuff. People still want to be there generally. San Francisco, absolutely gorgeous city. It's unfortunate what they're allowing to have happen there. Mm-hmm. We see pockets here that got a little overheated, so a little softening, down 5 or 10%. Is that going to be the end of the world? I don't think so.
Yeah,
just kind of ride through that stuff and it comes back up. Will it hurt the people who need to sell when they're in the dip? Yeah, that's painful, right? Guys in Austin that they bought 2 years ago, now they got to sell. That's probably tough.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to lose some money,
So we have a comment on here. So this guy, homeschool time. My advice to young, buy land. You can build on it later.
Yeah, great advice. Great advice. Not making any more of that.
Nope. And then try to get in the path of development. And
yep.
So what have you seen? You do a lot of stuff for investors that buy land. So one of the common things that was done years ago was like do a golf course on it, mini golf, that pays for the land while you hold it.
Yeah, that's an awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome use of it. The other thing too that people do down here, because they're more not as restrictive and the weather's better, right? So they'll build a mobile home park. And they may do it, maybe high scale, maybe low scale, right? Low scale would be, maybe just some gravel but you still got septic systems. You still have some investment you have to put in there, but that's not a bad way to do it. If you just have a piece of land, you're just going to let it sit there. Maybe someday you decide to sell it off to housing developers. I was talking to some other guys the other day and asking them about on the commercial side of things and the challenges like down here in the South. And, on the statistics, I will give what's Nick? I forget Nick's last name again, who does the Reventure.
I want to say Nick Tortelli, but that was Carla's husband and Cheers.
No, and it'll probably show up immediately as I'm sure he'll probably be one of the first faces I show because he actually does a good job of talking about what's going on in the housing market.
What's the Doom channel called again? Reventure.
It's Reventure. Yeah, now he's not showing up in my feed. But anyway, one of the things, the housing guys are at the top of the funnel, or the top of the food chain or the totem pole when it comes to development. Commercial development, you might think, oh, it's commercial development, it's these big, super expensive buildings and all this stuff. But no, actually the guys building the homes pay the most money for the land. The highest value for the land is generally housing. Okay, so if you're kind of out there in a suburban area where people are just, it's expanding, right? Where it's expanding, right? Hey, do we put a flex space, a warehouse on this building, or do we put, 75 townhomes and 250 single family houses? The housing guy is going to win every time on that bid. It's just now obviously it's got to be zoned for that, right? But if it's in some area that maybe they could have some flexibility, the housing guys will outbid them. Because
it used to be retail would pay the highest,
right?
But that whole thing's upside down now,
right? Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's amazing. Well, I got a fun story for you, and maybe for another time we'll talk about that green zip tape product, right? That we've talked about. So I was reading a story here in Greenville. Some company bought the old municipal courthouse in Greenville. It sits on 2.6 acres. It's downtown, not right the heart of downtown, but it's downtown. It's a good spot. Old building needs a ton of work. It's just sold. Apparently, the city agreed to sell $4 million. My guess is he's just going to tear the building down. It's $4 million for the land for 2.6 acres. That's a lot of money. I mean, that's a lot of money. Now, he happens to be zoned. It's unlimited height where he's zoned. So should he decide to build a 1,000-foot tower, he could. No one wants a 1,000-foot tower in Greenville. By the way, in the article it said, hey, such and such LLC is the name that's in the city documents. And the guy who's kind of spokesperson is this guy, gives his name. I immediately look it up, right? Look him up. I fire him off a note right away about this green zip tape product because I was reading about him and he said, well, he builds these buildings to LEED Platinum. That's LEED
Yep.
Platinum. It's the highest level of energy efficiency and all this stuff. Highest level, most expensive way to build a commercial building.
Okay.
So I sent him a note and I said, hey, you might want to know about this product because it can help you get to that LEED status. And this is what we do, blah, 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 and stuff like that. It was awesome. He's a big developer in New York City. He immediately fired me a note back and said, hey, this is really interesting. Thanks. I'll take a look at it. I mean, in business, right? You make phone calls, emails, all this stuff. People don't respond to you. So it was so awesome to have read a story, seen who was in it. I immediately took action, fired him off an email, and literally within 10 minutes later, he sent me a note back saying, hey, thanks for sending this to me. I'm going to take a look at it. Thanks. Looks interesting.
Yeah, but how often in our careers have we been on the cutting edge of a product like that?
Yeah, well, I'm excited about it. It's awesome. But we probably should do. We're gonna have to get rolling here. But
let's do a special show on that one. That we can dedicate a whole show to.
Yeah, because I think that would be interesting for people to see what that looks like. So
excellent,
awesome. Well, this was fun, Craig.
Yeah. It's we'll keep this up. This is a lot of fun. We're doing it anyhow, so we might as well just record our conversations.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. It's kind of fun learning all this stuff. So
yeah,
good stuff.
Great. Well, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll talk this week.
All right. Sounds good, Craig.
Right.
See ya.
Take care. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.